Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Your boy Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and today's video is about 4 guys I am actively pursuing and trying to trade for in your fantasy league. Now, all 4 of these guys have a thing in common as well. They've dealt with an injury or are currently dealing with an injury. So we're going to take a look at what does their schedule look like. Do we think that they're going to be a guy that can help us win the rest of the year? And the reason that I've brought up these 4 guys is because I've seen them come up in comments, questions, Discord, whatever it may be. People have had questions about these 4 guys quite a bit, and I want to address all 4 of them. So hit the like button and subscribe down below if you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners. And also in the comments, if you're actively trying to go after any trades, make sure you let us know down in the comments. Maybe I'll respond to a couple or a few of them and say, hey, yes, no, do this or that. But always being in our Discord by being a member is the best way to get a hold of us. But let's talk about one guy, and I'm not even going to throw up anything, and I'm not going to throw up any type of a graphic for this guy. I just want to touch on Jonathan Taylor real quick. Because with Jonathan Taylor, yes, I am trying to add Jonathan Taylor. He was the first overall pick in the draft for a reason. Has Indianapolis looked good so far? No. Has he looked good so far? No. Has their offensive line looked good? No. All those have no. Jonathan Taylor is also an historically slow starter. If you look at his first couple of years in the league, where it's not until later in the year that things really start to get going for him. Fantasy owners right now are panicking, especially those of you that might be winless or only 1 win with top studs that have not been doing what they're supposed to. And I get that. And that's why we are trying to take a shot at all of these guys, because I think their trade value is much lower right now than their realistic value. And their realistic value is, number 1, what can I get for them if they perform at the level I think that they're expected to perform? And number 2, what can I get for them based on where I drafted them? All of these guys, you can get significantly lower more than likely, because you might have a fantasy owner in one of your leagues panicking right now. And I actually helped one of our Discord members earlier today. It's Archie, shout out to you, facilitate a trade where he was able to grab an Austin Eckler for like a Khalil Herbert and a Jamal Williams. There's a couple of other pieces in there. Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert, they're going to lose their jobs, right? They're not going to be workhorse running backs the rest of the year. Austin Eckler, big bounce back performance in a great offense, the number 1 running back. Of course, I'm going to take that over those 2 guys. Those are the type of trades that you can potentially swing with your league mates who are also panicking. So Jonathan Taylor, yes, I am going to try and add Jonathan Taylor right now if I can get him at a discount. If I can't, then I'll bypass it. But if you can get him at a discount, we're obviously going after him. But the first guy I want to talk about is going to be Dalvin Cook. Now, Jake brought up Dalvin Cook last week, and I'm going to bring him up again this week because I still feel like owners are trying to move on from him right now, partly due to the shoulder. Obviously, the shoulder is an issue, but we saw even last week, the dude was just fine. He took a majority of the workload there, and that's what's going to happen moving forward as well. He's got games coming up against Arizona. They allow the 10th most fantasy points in the league to opposing running backs. We're going to have Washington, New England, and the New York Jets. Those 3 games right there are 3 games that the Minnesota Vikings could be ahead and be able to control on the ground. So I'm looking at those 3 games as well. Detroit's going to be coming up a second time, and Detroit is like dollar store condoms. You're not going to trust them to stop anything. It's just not going to happen, all right? Detroit right now, it's just the defense is a mess. Dalvin Cook on those outside zone schemes against them, the last time they played, absolutely dominated those. No, but Detroit could not stop him on the outside. So that's another matchup that I'm looking at. So several good matchups coming up where we could get him for a discount, and then we could plug him in, and he's going to give us, at worst, probably RB2 numbers, at best, high RB1 numbers in some of these matchups. People are overreacting. They're worried about the shoulder. They're upset that they haven't gotten top-tier performances. I'm going to buy now before it happens. What about J.K. Dobbins? He makes his way back, and I got a lot of questions from people. Should I trade him now? No. We've been waiting for this. And yes, his game was highly predicated on a couple of touchdowns. Okay. And the efficiency wasn't what we would have liked, but it was his first game back since an ACL tear. Of course, it might take a little bit of time. Let him have it. J.K. Dobbins is in a really, really good offense. Owners around around you right now might be looking to capitalize on those 2 touchdown performances, but still might not be requesting the type of return that he would get had he been healthy all season long. So this could be the perfect time to pounce on him because owners are actually trying to move him. Whereas if he starts to have better performances, they're not even going to consider it. We've got the New York Giants coming up, a game that they could be leading. We've got the Cleveland Browns coming up, a game that they could be leading. Carolina coming up, another game they could be leading. 3 right there where we could see a lot of J.K. Dobbins because Baltimore is going to be out in front. Also, with Rashad Bateman kind of banged up right now, J.K. Dobbins, maybe we see him get a little bit more work in the passing game than we would have seen if Bateman were healthy. So keep that in mind as well. And then we got Jacksonville and we've got Pittsburgh. Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, both of them give up top 10 most fantasy points to opposing running backs. We're going to be getting after both of these teams. These are going to be matchups that are going to be beneficial to J.K. Dobbins. And again, you're going to have to get him now before he gets to be too expensive, or not even too expensive, just untradeable. No one's going to give him up if he continues to perform like this. What about if we head north to Detroit? Now, as I just mentioned with their defense, they can't stop anybody. They can't. But that's good for wide receivers. That's good for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I'm wondering if we are not going to see Amon-Ra St. Brown until after the Week 6 bye. So it doesn't sound like he's ready to go yet this week. So we hold him out this week. We get him healthy after the Week 6 bye. That's 2 more weeks that fantasy owners are going to be without their top wide receiver. And again, if they are in a position where they are down right now, or their team isn't looking great, their record isn't good, we could swoop in and kind of say, hey, you're not going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown for the next couple of weeks. You can't afford to take L's for the next 2 weeks. What can I give you to take Amon-Ra off your hands? Dallas is going to be coming up for him. That's going to be a shootout. I mean, Dallas and Detroit are probably going to go back and forth quite a bit. He's going to see quite a bit of targets in that game. We've got Miami coming up, another shootout, but Miami also allows the 5th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Also, he probably won't see Xavier Howard, which is good. Green Bay, that's going to be a shootout. No Jair Alexander no Jair Alexander. That could be a big benefit. Owners that are missing 2 more weeks of Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to be thinking to themselves, I got to do something. I got to make a move. I'm 1-3, 1-4 maybe after this week, 2-3, whatever it may be. I got to get something done. I can't go 2 more weeks without him. And then you're able to get him at a discount. That's what we want to do right here. And the last guy I'm going to talk about is one that might shock you all, and maybe not because he's behind me. It's Keenan Allen. Now, I am not going to be taking a look at anything until after the Week 8 bye. Tried coming back, re-aggravated the hamstring. Not feeling too great right now. Absolutely get it. Let's wait and see what happens. This is a Los Angeles team that has plenty of weapons. So they may not be looking to rush him back. So let's say worst case scenario, we don't see him until after the Week 8 bye. That's another situation where we look at the fantasy owner and say, hey, he's got the Week 8 bye coming up pretty soon. Maybe we don't see him back until then. I would like to maybe make a deal for him. Let's get you somebody that you could realistically take right now from your team and use and put in your lineup, and he's just not going to be sitting there. Because after the Week 8 bye, we're going to get San Francisco, who's a shootout. We're going to get Kansas City, who gives up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. We're going to get Arizona, who's probably another shootout. We're going to get Las Vegas, that gives up the 13th most fantasy points per game. And we're going to get Arizona, who gives up the 5th most fantasy points per game. So all of those games, to me, say, hey, after the Week 8 bye, it's go time for Keenan Allen. And his value really at this point is never going to be lower because it doesn't appear that he's closer to coming back. That's what I've been telling fantasy owners who have been saying to me, should I trade Keenan Allen? I'm like, we kind of got to wait right now because he doesn't have any value. Anybody that's trying to get him from you right now is trying to undercut you, okay? Don't do that. Because as he gets closer to returning, maybe around that Week 8 bye, that is when his value will start to pick up a little bit more because then owners can say to you, no, he's going to be back soon. I want to see what happens. Now's the time to pounce. Now is the time to move and go get Keenan Allen. But one thing to keep in mind as you watch this video, if you're going to respond to me with, well, nobody in a competitive league, or nobody in my league would ever trade him, or I would never trade those guys, not every league is the same, and they certainly all aren't like your leagues, and you're one of the people that we hate to play fantasy football with, so don't comment with that, all right? Every league's different. Every owner's different. I talk to 1,000 people a day about their fantasy leagues, potential trades coming in, waiver wire acquisitions, players that people have dropped. I believe that I have a much better grasp on what is going on around our community than what you do. And I'm going to name you Johnny, because that's what we like to call people around here who are like that, all right? Don't do that, all right? Take the information that I've given you. Try to make it work. If it does, great. If it doesn't, oh well. Continue to try and make those deals. Continue and try to make your roster better. Get ready to go win the rest of the season, regardless of what your record is. You're 0-0 again right now. Win every week. 1-0 every week. If you do that, you'll be standing at the end with a trophy in hand, saying, hell yeah, Headliner Nation. Let's get it. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Peace out, stay safe, and stay healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.